What is up, YouTube? Alrighty. So, just some shock therapy installation suggestions when you're doing your system here. At least this is what I found. Seems to work the best. And I can't seem to find any other solution until shock therapy gets a hold of me. Now, what I'm talking about today, which is these limit straps. So I have the shock therapy full RIS system. Definitely worth it if you have the means. Get this done. This is just definitely worth every penny of it. It's awesome. It does what it says it does. I mean, really, whoever you have work on it is probably going to make a good suspension setup. But factory sucks. Just believe that. Anyway, so the limit straps are the things that I'm talking about today. The shock therapy ones, they work really well. They do what they say they do, and I'm not complaining about their functionality and how they work. What I'm more complaining about is some of the caveats you have to kind of be aware of, some things you have to keep in mind when you're trying to put it on. Mainly what I'm talking about is the setup. If you watch the video, the installation video, and how they set this up, the system is done with the shocks reservoirs on the outside, kind of like you're seeing right now. Now, they do say that you can do it with the shocks on the inside, the reservoirs on the inside, but honestly, it doesn't seem possible for that to even remotely happen. Mainly the reason why is because if you look at these two sections of this clamp here, there's two bolts in the front, and there's two bolts on the back, right about there. I apologize, I'm using my phone for this, but those two bolts in the back are the trick. Now, with the reservoir behind setup, this would be covering, the reservoir would be covering back behind here these bolts. So you cannot even remotely get to those bolts with this reservoir sitting inside. I just don't know how you can do it. It doesn't make any sense considering that they want you to tighten the bolts inside, outside, top and bottom kind of thing, alternating patterns to get them cinched down. With this way, this is the only other way I can see that you can do it, Now, whatever. I got frustrated and because I hadn't heard back yet on how it's supposed to be remotely done like that because I had them on the inside originally. If you do this, just know that you need to take your left shock and put it on the right, and the right shock and put it on the left. The reason why is because these need to be clocked out a little bit more going towards the front of the vehicle. Then also you'll have to cut the plastics. Now, there's plenty of pictures and stuff like that to see of how they cut this or what they cut this, the way they cut this, the look of it. Now, how I cut it, you heat it up a little bit with like a hair dryer, or if you have a heat gun, it makes the plastics very soft. If you have an X-Acto knife, give that a nice trim with an X-Acto knife. If you have a razor blade from a box cutter or something, then do the same thing, but you're going to want to trim it up first, roughly, and then file or Dremel the shape a little bit smoother. So once that happens, if you have to do it and you decide to go this route, just remember your suspension is going to be fully extended and sitting at a higher ride height. When that happens, you cannot adjust this down far enough to get the bottom strap in. So remember to cycle your suspension back and forth to get back to ride height. That way you can get this bottom half of the strap onto the bolt. The other thing too is that this plate down here that the strap's connected to, I'm sorry my phone's not focusing perfectly. The plate that this connected to down here doesn't have really access to the reservoir. The rebound adjustment. I apologize, the rebound adjustment sitting right here doesn't have direct access to it through the plate, which I think is something that either you could do. I don't know if I want to cut into this, but shock therapy should have kind of thought of that and put a little access port so that you can stick a screwdriver through there in case you want to adjust your rebound. Other thing too is be aware in the video there's a few things that you don't get that they say you get, which is this bolt here, which is basically supplied from the factory bolt. So this is not it. This is in the video, but it comes with an extra bolt, but doesn't come with that bolt on when you get to the kit. So the other thing too that I didn't have is there's a little rubber washer apparently you're supposed to have there to kind of take up some slack. That you didn't get that either. So I don't know if that's just, you know, over time they realize you don't need it. Whatever. But just a little bit of warnings. Just be aware of that. Other than that, the system works great. I like that you can adjust it. There's other systems out there that I guess will mount to these locations up in the top here. And then it goes straight down the shock from the front, I believe. But it doesn't look like it's adjustable. So it's kind of just, it chokes up the suspension, I think almost 2 inches or something like that. So don't think you want to do that. According to these guys, if you watch the video, it's a half of an inch. So you don't really need to go full droop. But they do work like they're advertised. I will adjust it as I go along, make sure that they're the length that they're supposed to be. But just a little bit of warnings. Have a good one.